Hi, it's Laura Holyoke, and I want to quickly go over your program evaluation plan assignment. This is a little bit different than what I originally put in the syllabus because I think it fits better. So your assignment now will be developing an evaluation plan for your program. We'd like for you to design evaluation questions, 5 total. 2 of those will be process-oriented questions, which process can also be implementation questions. And these sorts of questions are based on what did you do and how well did you do it. 1 outcome question that is geared towards what difference did your program make, short and medium term. And then 2 impact questions based on did your interventions produce the intended impacts, and are the impacts likely to be sustainable? For each question that you ask, please identify the method of measurement, the data sources, indicators, and target for success. So I'm going to walk through each of these with you right now. So evaluation plan questions, process and implementation questions are focused on your activities and outputs, not outcomes. So this is implementing the program. So the questions are geared towards to what extent is a program being implemented as intended, as you planned in your program plan, and then how well is your or our program being implemented and how can it be improved. Outcome questions focus on the effectiveness of the programs, so short and medium, to what degree are participants achieving these desired outcomes, and or are you achieving the desired outcomes? To what extent have you grown as a result of the program after going through the program, as you're going through? And then impact questions. These are long-term, often program goals or the mission of the program. To what magnitude are your efforts affecting change in you, in which you initially documented or initially wanted to do? And then what effects of the program are being passed on to others in terms of impact? I encourage you to select questions that are most logically related to and influenced by your program, that are also meaningful to you, and if somebody gave you a chunk of money to implement your personal program plan, would be persuasive to your funders or funder. This is another look, or a relook, if you will, at the logic model and where the questions come from in the logic model for a process or implementation evaluation. Again, these are inputs, activities, outputs, and outcome questions are focused on outcomes, and then impact is the far end. And I don't have questions here for those, but you can see where you would pull those questions from in terms of your logic model. For each question that you ask, I would like for you to identify the method of measurement, that is, how are you going to collect the data, your data sources, those are the origin of data, where does your data come from, indicators, so what does success look like, how will you know, and then a target for success, so what are you shooting for. So methods of measurement include some of these and others, so you can collect information via survey or interviews, could be observations, could be a group technique format, could be a case study. You can collect information through tests, pre and post tests, could be through testimonials, could be through an expert panel, simulated problems, a journal, a log, a diary, and then other unobtrusive measures. So to think about how best to collect the information that you are asking for in your questions. Your data sources are your origin of data. So I encourage you to obtain information from multiple sources. So what sources of information will you use? Is it information that's existing? Is it information? So I'm talking about overall programs here, but also you in terms of people or the participants, and you are the participant. But there may be also maybe people like staff members that can also be data sources. And then also documentation observations. This might be documentation for you, and maybe points that you quiz yourself or something like that. I encourage you to use to select multiple criteria rather than just one data source when asking your questions. So an indicator is how will you know? An indicator tells you what success looks like. So what does the outcome look like when it occurs? You want to indicate what it looks like for you. I think I just repeated myself twice. To describe the change that is occurring, what you expect for it to occur. They relate directly to the outcomes that you are going to evaluate. So I have here kind of several tables, if you will, looking at how this may be set up. An evaluation question, you ask what information is required, and based on that information, who are the sources, where are the sources, and what method of data will you collect? What we don't have in our evaluations is the information required. So this may be an interim step that you write out to help you. This is, so this visual is, if you look from bottom up, it is the logic model presented in a different way. So you have inputs, then activities. The activities are outputs. So what are the indicators that those outputs are being met? The outcomes, what are the indicators of those being met? And same as impacts. How will you know that you've reached success? And then on the means of verification, those are data sources and collection methods. Your targets for success, so what are you shooting for? Here's several examples that are, I can't remember where they're taken from, but it gives you an idea of what success, how you can state your success. A minimum of 5 streams with 10 participants in each stream, 80% of something, 60% of meeting something or else, participant gains, including how qualitative outcomes were delivered and measured. So what are you shooting for in terms of your success? For your outputs questions, for your outcome questions, and then for your impact questions. Indicators. So outputs have straightforward indicators. You measure outcomes and show what change has occurred. So here's another visual. If the evaluation focus is outcome, 2 different questions. To what extent has the community become more aware of watershed issues? Sample indicators could be attendance at relevant public hearings, meetings, or events. Annual participation rates in Lake Cleanup Day could be number of people who can name threats to lake water quality in resident survey. Probably all of these indicators, which gives you an idea of where and what your data sources are. Here's another way to lay out data. If you have, here's your evaluation questions across the top. During 2007, did practices implement recommendations, blah, 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 blah. So you have your questions on the left-hand side. You have your indicators on the left-hand side. What does success look like based on this question? The targets that you're working for each of the bulleted points. And then the data sources, where you're going to collect that data. And then the method is the data collection. How will you collect it? This one also has a timeline and a person responsible. Another way to look at things as a visual. So if we have a targeted outcome in this one, we have our stated evaluation question. The targeted outcome is that high school visitors will increase their interest in the moon. That's the outcome. And then how will we know that? Well, there's 2 different ways that we say we're going to know. that they will engage their parents in conversation, and that they will indicate that the exhibit increased their interest. How are we going to collect that information? Observational studies, and then interviews with the students. I believe this is my last slide. So finally, I encourage you to check your logic model and make sure that this flows well with your evaluation plan. It should fit with it, and it should be, again, straightforward, that you should be able to go from your program plan to logic model to now your evaluation plan. And again, we'll revisit the logic model when we come back to the compiled program. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.